Thank you so much for downloading the latest episode of The Little Carnival. This week, Paula and I are talking about TLC's reality show, My 600-Pound Life. Weight loss, journeys, mental health, codependency, and we discuss it all in 15 minutes. Enjoy the show.
Come one, come all. Step right up to The Little Carnival. If you love to hate the reality TV shows on the TLC network, get it? TLC, The Little Carnival? Then this is the podcast for you. And now, your hosts, stars of the Uglee Truth podcast, it's the Uggs.
Welcome to The Little Carnival, the Uglee Truth's reality show discussion. The Little Carnival is the TLC channel, TLC, but we call it The Little Carnival because it's so exploitive. And they find literally like the bottom of the barrel to highlight, and we all watch it for some reason. So this week, we're going to talk about Paula's obsession. I don't know if you want to call it an obsession, but we're going to be talking about the show, My 600-Pound Life.
Yes.
So what is this about?
Okay, so I wouldn't say I'm obsessed, but I would say I'm just so fascinated with this show. Basically, what it starts out is there is an individual that they weigh anywhere, I would say, between 600 and 700 pounds. Typically, they are either bedridden or they're very limited in their mobility because of their weight.
Obviously.
And they just show from start to finish like what their day looks like. So they wake up, they either need help getting up out of bed, they go take their shower or their bath. One person some people actually have to be bathed outside because they can't fit in showers.
Oh my God.
So
when they do this, so what is this? Like a year in the life, right?
basically.
And so the whole goal of the show is that they have decided they no longer want to be 600 pounds.
They don't want to live like that anymore because they're afraid they're going to die, basically.
So,
that's what it is.
They will.
So
obviously.
These people, though, all they can think about, though, is food. And most often they ingest anywhere between 8,000 and 10,000 calories a day.
Okay. So obviously they're not getting out and getting it.
No. And so they usually have a partner of some sort.
Yes.
Or a husband or a wife or a fiance.
What about, like, is there a parent maybe? Or
usually there's a parent involved. Like they live with a parent,
Right. Right.
And so... And these individuals around them are typically, not small themselves, but not nearly as big as the person.
Right.
And so they all eat poorly. And so what they do is they make an appointment with this doctor in Houston, Dr. Nazardin Nazardin, I think his name is.
Okay.
And he specializes in gastric bypass surgery on people who are over 500 pounds. Most gastric bypass doctors will not operate on people that large because of the safety risks.
Oh, okay.
So that's why everybody goes to him.
Okay.
And so a lot of people come from all over places, they come from South Carolina or Mississippi or California, Washington, and most of them, they're not rich because they're not working. They have to drive. And so that in itself is,
it's a harrowing experience.
It is. It can take what would normally take maybe people 2 days. It can take them 5 days because they have to stop.
I have seen a grand total of 8 minutes of this show. And I will say that I do not watch this show and think it's funny.
No.
Or judge. I'm not judging. What I see personally is as a person who had some kind of mental break at some point and is now using food to fill a void.
Exactly.
And whoever is their codependent individual, whether it's a parent, usually, now the ones I've seen, it's a parent. Mm-hmm. I've never seen one or a sibling. I've never seen somebody with a husband or a wife personally, but I mean, like I said, I've only seen like 1/3 of one episode of it. Mm-hmm. What I always find fascinating about these is that they're desperate to change their life. They don't want to be this way anymore. This doctor is not just going to go in and give them surgery. He puts them on a rigorous plan of attack. Like, you have to lose this much weight, blah, blah, blah. And they get belligerent and angry. And they're trying desperately to eat. And it's because, and I've seen this doctor say this, you have to get psychotherapy. You can't just lose weight. It won't work. It won't work.
And so that's basically what happens is once they get to the doctor, he says, okay, over the next 2 months, I want you to lose like 50 pounds. And he says, I'm going to put you on this diet. It's 1,200 calories a day. And if you follow that diet, you should have no problem losing 50 pounds. So 2 months later, they'll come back in and they'll kind of show snippets of during the 2 months. And
what they're doing.
And they say, like, I'm trying to follow the diet, you know, I think it's going well. I think I'm losing the weight, blah, blah, blah. And so they go in there and they step on the scale and they've lost like 18 pounds.
Oh my God.
You know? And they usually try and blame it on other things. They're just like, well, you know, I'm carrying a lot of water weight in my legs. And he's like, water weight weighs 2 pounds, you know, and he's just like, everything. You're not sticking to the diet. You know, you're cheating, you're eating food and that you're not supposed to. And he says in 2 months, you should have been able to lose, you know, well over 50 pounds.
Yes.
So he'll give him another 2 months to lose 50 pounds. And, because he will not sign them up for weight loss surgery until they lose that 50 pounds.
Well, isn't it more like the weight loss on their own? Isn't that kind of like it's in good faith. Like, yes, I'm committed to weight loss.
Well, and it's showing that they can control their diet. That's ultimately what it is. Because after you get weight loss surgery, you have to control your diet because you can't be, your stomach is like the size of a tablespoon.
Have you known anyone who's had that stomach surgery?
I want to say I did.
I know 2 people who've had it done. Was
it successful or did they go back to their old ways?
He was morbidly obese. He was probably well over 300 pounds and he wasn't very tall or anything. So he might've been like 5'9", and he looked like Grimace. He was really round.
Okay.
And he was older. So he had he did lap band. He did not do the kind where they cut your stomach into a tiny little sack. And he lost a significant amount of weight and he was within the healthy range. Obviously, and this is for another show, he had a lot of loose skin that he had to have removed. But he was malnourished. Like his gums were like receding. You know how when someone is malnourished, their gums recede or they look like they're starving? I don't know if I can explain it, but that's what he looked like all the time. And I'm like, I don't know if this is necessarily the healthiest route, but it did work. And he did not put on weight again. But he left the band on. He did not remove it. He left it on because he just could not control himself and he knew it. Now this show specifically, the one thing I find is it's the same model. You have somebody who's miserable. They have a codependent partner. They go to this doctor. They're all in until the work begins. And then they get hostile. Ultimately, they get the surgery. And then it's after the fact where they go, oh, I think I can cheat. And they start eating McDonald's.
Well, I mean, that does happen. Like, it's pretty rare. But, I mean, that can happen. Most of the people, once they start, because, I mean, the weight just starts falling off usually.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why is after they get the surgery, they get so sick. They get really nauseous.
Yeah.
Because they start to try and put things in their body that the stomach can't process. And so they're throwing up all the time. You know, they really can only eat Jell-O and, you know, and chicken broth and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a long time before they can eat anything really solid. And
why do you think you're so... I'm sorry, go ahead.
They do find that, you know, once they start losing weight, they become more motivated.
Sure, it's motivating to lose weight. I love it.
The psychotherapy piece of it is... just like a lot of people, there was some sort of trauma or some sort of, you know,
some kind of event
in their life. You know, a lot of these people were abused growing up, you know, were sexually abused, you know, suffered a death in the family. They were sexually assaulted. And so they turn to food, whereas, you know, other people might turn to alcohol or drugs or, you know, sex, you know, whatever it might be. These people turn to food. And so, whereas with maybe some of the other choices, you don't necessarily physically see it, you know, unless, you know, it can be easier to hide, I guess you could say. But with food, you can't really hide it.
And the other thing is you can't quit eating. You have to eat.
Well, you have to eat, right.
Which means you have to retrain your brain to understand that you can't use this to fill the void. You only need it for nourishment. And it's hard, but I'm just wondering, why are you so fascinated with this?
I don't know.
What is your fascination?
I guess it would be like, I guess for me, it's interesting to see, you know, why they started in the first place.
It's the journey.
How the body could get so large, what happens to the body when it gets that large.
Yeah.
You know, how it can evolve once you start losing the weight, you know. It's interesting to me. And then it's also interesting to see how people rationalize, you know, eating different foods, thinking that it's not going to affect their diet. And I don't know, I guess it's all the medical pieces to me, you know, the psychological portion of it.
Yeah, it's weird because I know for me it's hard for me to relate. I do know someone who uses food to fill a void. They are not 600 pounds, but easily it is. I wouldn't even call it an addiction. I would call it it's a source of, it must be like a source of comfort. What I find odd about my 600-pound life is the partners who are compliant.
Yes.
They are literally giving them the food that will kill them. It's so strange. It's like, this person is not going to get up and attack you. They can't move. Why are you giving them anything other than salad and bone broth? Like, what are you doing? To me, it's a very strange dynamic. It's a very broken system, obviously. And I'm always wondering, this doesn't happen in other countries. Like, this does not happen in other countries. It only happens here.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen this go down in Asia. You know what I mean?
And actually, one episode I saw, one husband was so not supportive of his wife doing this because he liked her as a larger woman. And that when she got to a point where she had lost so much weight, she was finally like 250 pounds or something like that. He left her, and they ended up getting divorced because he's just insane. Like, he's all, you're too thin. He's like, I don't like you anymore.
Wouldn't that be an interesting turn? Because usually it's the other way around.
I kind of wonder if that happens more frequently than they actually show, because by the time the show's over, they only do the first 12 months. So, I mean, you can't lose, you know, half your body size in 12 months. I mean, it's just, it takes too long.
The one thing I will say that I saw, it made the news, and this is the only reason I knew, there was a woman who, she was Hispanic, and she was like the mother of all these daughters, and she was 600 pounds. She lost all the weight, but she had done so much damage to her body. She needed a walker. She couldn't, her body, even though she was of a normal size, she looked totally like you would never know that she had been 600 pounds. She had done so much damage to her insides that she actually ultimately succumbed and died.
Yeah.
I think she had a stroke and died or something.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not the weight loss. There's so much damage that has been done that I have not seen too many happy endings or any where are they nows, because I know they do the where are they now thing. I saw one guy, he lost a bunch of weight and he started cheating on his diet and he started putting on weight again. He put on 20 pounds like in no time flat.
Wow.
His girlfriend left him. She's like, I'm not going through this again.
She's like, I'm not going to watch you do this to yourself.
They were pen pals. They were like online friends. And then they met in person and became engaged. And he was on the journey already to lose the weight. He was probably high 200s when they finally met, and she was really encouraging him. She's like, this is so exciting, we're gonna have a great life together. And she was beautiful, by the way, and she was also overweight, but they were both trying to work towards it, which is how they met up, actually.
Is
they were in a support group for people who were obese. And so he started eating again, and she's like, bye, go, you know, she's like, hey, thanks, next, bye. And she left, and he was devastated. He's like, that's it, I'm not doing this again. And his parents were super like, supportive and said, you good for you, keep going. But I think it's so easy to fall back in if you don't go to therapy. I think that's the main thing with these people. The journey would be so great to see them be mentally broken and feeling better in 12 months. That's the whole thing.
Well, and I think, just like I said, the thing to remember about My 600-Pound Life is these people are genuinely broken.
Yes.
And, they're not just doing it for the sake of just eating because they want to be, large people.
No.
This is their vice. This is what they turn to, just like someone would turn to drugs or sex or alcohol. So,
well, I think it's interesting, and although I struggle with it, I'm glad that you watch it. And if there's ever a really good one, we'll talk about it again for sure. Okay, well, thanks for bringing the show to our attention. So it's My 600-Pound Life on the TLC network. All right, thanks everyone. Bye. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the greatest show on earth, the Little Carnival Podcast. Subscribe to The Ugly Truth on your favorite podcast player, and you'll never miss a show. Visit thelittlecarnival.com for details.